Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we'll be talking about the Anthony Richardson experiment with the Indianapolis Colts. This on another episode of Anthony Richardson was drafted by the Indianapolis Colts back in the 2023 draft, and it's been an interesting 2 years, to say the least, for the Colts. In Anthony Richardson's rookie season, he played 4 games and got hurt, and then they had to start Gardner Minshew for the rest of the year, which was an unfortunate outcome, but in those first 4 games, Anthony Richardson had shown some promise, and people, including myself, thought with a little more time he could develop into maybe a high-tier starter. He had that mobility that Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson had, and if the Colts could just improve his passing abilities to a point that was at least acceptable, he could be a solid starter for the Indianapolis Colts heading into future seasons. However, in 2024, we did see Anthony Richardson play a majority of the season. He was playing in 11 games, and it was a mixed bag, to say the least. At one point in the season, they benched him for an aging Joe Flacco, which, honestly, he played better than the old Joe Flacco. But, I mean, Joe Flacco is ancient. He's been heavily regressing for years. That Cinderella run with the Browns is exactly that. It was a Cinderella run. It's not meant to be duplicated. And while Anthony Richardson was better than aging Joe Flacco, he put up some of the worst games I've ever seen a quarterback play. He still was regularly running and getting sacked without thinking too much of what was going on. Ball, he was missing obviously open people, and his passing game was not improving. And that's why the Colts did bench him for a period of time for Joe Flacco. And he still put up solid numbers, but the Colts clearly, they weren't going to go on a playoff run with Anthony Richardson unless something changed. And so that brings us to 2025. The Indianapolis Colts have signed Daniel Jones to compete with Richardson for the starting job. And this is it, because Richardson, while he's shown some promise, he is what everyone has said about Justin Fields, Hurts, and Lamar Jackson. He's exactly what everyone who criticizes those players sees in this kind of archetype of quarterback. Yes, you're really athletic, but when push comes to shove, you don't play well in the quarterback position. You are not a good passing quarterback. And in the NFL, rushing, the athleticism and the rushing, great thing to have put into your game as a quarterback. We've seen Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts do that very well. However, if you don't at any point in your career start to develop that passing skill, the rushing then becomes a liability. And I think in Anthony Richardson's case, you see that perfectly, because the rushing makes you very prone to getting hurt, and he's been banged up for the first 2 years of his career, and there's no indication that'll change. And how you get away from that is you start rushing a little less, you start being more selective with how you do rushes, like Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson have started to do, and you pass. Now, Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson have the ability to pass. They've developed that. Anthony Richardson, on the other hand, he has not. Now, he's a lot younger than those two others, but he's never really shown too much promise to be a solid, consistent passer. Yes, he's thrown some great balls that have come down and been caught, but it's not consistent. And that's unfortunately just who he is as a quarterback. I don't think the Colts really thought drafting him through if they expected him to be anything other than what he is. And so now he either has to change and develop and actually become what the Colts would like him to be, in a decently solid passer while still having that rushing upside, or he gets replaced by Daniel Jones. And I think, whether we like it or not, the Anthony Richardson experiment is in its final year. With that being said, guys, Please like, subscribe, and share down below, and let me know what you thought. See you next time.